Hi, this is Alan Osmond.
Hey everyone, this is Jay Osmond.
Hi, this is the Bear, Merrill Osmond. Thank you everybody for joining Tom Roach each month as he takes you on a magical Osmond musical tour. This show has got a lot of get up and go and a whole lot of soul. So remember to catch my little brother from another mother, Tom Roach, on my BNR.
This is Tom Roach, host of the Osmond Hour, heard every last Thursday through Sunday of the month on the WBNR DV radio network and heard online at mybnr.com. Now back to keeping the nostalgia alive with your host, Billy Powell.
Remember, don't get stuck with another sticker company. Stick with StickerYeti.com for all of your sticker needs and much, much more. Sticker Yeti is the place for all of your needs when it comes to stickers. Check them out today.
Didn't want to run laps.
I didn't want to run laps. When you were coaching, how was when you wanted to teach the team a lesson when you were coaching, how did you use running, or what kind of things did you help motivate your players not to make the same mistakes over and over? Was running one of them?
Yes, it was. Bill, thanks for having me on. I should say that first. We run laps after every practice. I think probably more for conditioning. I know in high school, my coach in high school, every night after practice, we would run at least 40 or 50 laps, and we were in terrific physical shape and won many games in the last quarter of a ball game. But as far as discipline and all, occasionally I would do that, but I don't know that I would make it a common practice, really.
It's kind of like, in the movie Hoosiers, Gene Hackman, Coach Norman Dale said that, they may not be the best basketball team in the state of Indiana, but they're going to be the most in shape basketball team.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that scene. I do, yes.
Another question, and just to let everybody know, I started right off the cuff. I didn't do any intro or anything else like that. We have Coach Rex Wells with us today, and we're going to, we've had him on for 3 interviews today. We're going to talk about just the game of basketball and Indiana high school basketball. And Coach Wells, I thank you so much for spending some time with us again.
Well, thanks, Bill, for having me on. I mean that sincerely. I look forward to it, yes.
Back from, talking about running and how that motivates a team, and as a coach in basketball, how do you've got 10 or 12 players on the squad, probably 4 or 5 just aren't starters. How do you get playing time or keep someone who is on the bench motivated for the game of basketball, even though there's 4, 5, 6, 7 players in front of them deep?
Well, that's really a great question, because you're right. You have 10 or 11 players on the team, and you're only going to play 5 guys, at a time. And some of the kids are not going to get a lot of playing time. And I think one of the key things as a coach, I think you've got to figure out how to incorporate those kids that don't get a lot of playing time into buying into the fact, hey, you're really important to this team as much as the first 5 or the star player. And I think you create that motivation in practice whereby you take a kid that's not getting a lot of playing time, but he becomes a role player where he makes perhaps the first 5 or first kid on the team, the first forward or the first guard, makes him better. He makes him a better player in practice. And he buys in to the fact that, hey, I'm pretty important. I'm making him a better player. I had a player like that once, and I remember 1958. This kid, he was tough, but he didn't get a lot of playing time, but he made his friend, who was a forward and ended up being an all-state basketball player, by the way, he made him better in practice. Every night, he made him better. And I think that's where a coach has to bring in that concept that, look, we're all a team. We're a team.
It's interesting you say that, and there was only one particular time in that 1958 season that you had to really process this. But at what point, when you guys got to the Final Four in 1958, did you think, I'm going to put some of these kids in so that they can experience a Final Four? And how rough of a decision is that? Because you wanted to win and you wanted to have your best players out on the floor. At what point do you think, what? It's not going to happen. We've had a great season. Let me get some of these other guys into the game to enjoy a Final Four moment.
A very good thought, Bill. In 1958, we played Fort Wayne South, and they were the favorites, and you've read the book and you know the story. They had the 7-foot center, the tallest player to ever play Indiana basketball at that time. Not only that, but they had two kids on each side of the center. It was 6'5", 6'4", and they were great basketball players. Long story short, we got down the first half by, I think it was 12 points, and it looked like it was going to be a runaway. I remember going down in the dressing room. I didn't say a lot in the dressing room at the half. We more or less just sat there in silence, and I said something probably as we got ready to come back. But during the second half, Bill, we played Fort Wayne South even. We played them even. We scored the same number of field goals, both teams, second half. And we made 2 runs at Fort Wayne. And the second run, we got the score down to 5 points, and we had a 2-point free throw by one of our forwards. And lo and behold, he missed them both. So we were making a run at them. But as the game progressed, and there was only about 3 minutes left, as the game progressed, they regained their momentum, and they got it back up to 12 points. With about a minute, I think it was about a minute and a half so to go, I remember sitting there, and probably 4 of the kids that had never played on the court, hadn't been in the game. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I know I thought this. I just know it. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. These guys have played in practice and really busted themselves to keep going as a team player. And with about a minute to go, I put those guys in. I put them in. And, to this day, 2 or 3 of them will say me when we get together for a reunion or something, they'll say, Coach, boy, that was the greatest experience of my lifetime to be able to have said I played on the Butler Fieldhouse hardwood.
It's interesting. Go ahead.
Bill, I would have been really remiss not to do that. You know that.
Oh, of course. About 2 weeks ago, I went back home to Indiana, and it's very interesting. The last time I went back was like 8 years ago, and you have all of these all of these things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to bring back a little bit of everything, and we went to Hinkle Fieldhouse. Which at the time when you guys played there in 58, it was Butler Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
And everything in there, they have gone from seating 15,000 now to 8,200.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Today's game in college. I didn't know that. Yeah.
No.
In today's game in college basketball, though, it's all about, money.
Oh, yeah.
But what was interesting in going through those, the pool has been taken out, and they've done so many renovations, and the smell of the pool in there, to me brought back great memories of the smell of Hinkle Fieldhouse. But the only thing in Hinkle Fieldhouse now that is original is the floor that was built there in 1928, in which you guys played on. Well,
the field house seated over 15,000 then, you know that.
Right.
In 1950, the 1950s, I think I read recently, I did a little reading on that. The Butler Fieldhouse was the largest basketball arena in the United States up until I think it was 1950.
Wow.
And that's a sellout. That was a sellout every year. You know that.
Hard to get tickets.
Yeah, you couldn't get tickets. This is an interesting story. I think we only got 900 tickets because we only had 300 plus enrollment. High school, Spring Valley High School, 1957-58, new school, no. So we only got about 1,000 tickets for that tournament.
Now, was that split that way with all four schools, or was it based upon the amount of enrollment? It was. So that's kind of not. I guess I don't know if that's fair or not. Would you agree with that?
Well, I kind of. I know I agreed with it in 1958 because you know what? We had people, and this is really sad, but it's true. We had people, fans, that would have given their, I don't know what, to have those tickets, but they couldn't get in. And, you know, it was really disappointing for them because there wasn't no tickets available. And by the time, the team and the families of the team and the school and the students, et cetera, there was not very many tickets left for fans. And it became a real bad publicity thing because fans just wanted to be there.
Where did you and the team, did you guys stay at a hotel or a motel when you guys went up for the Final Four in 58?
We did. Each team got 2 hours to practice on the floor before the tournament, which was on Saturday, of course. And I think we went up to Indianapolis. We drove up there from French Lick. I think we probably had 3 cars, and I remember I drove one. My assistant coach drove one, and we stayed one night, and I think it was probably on a Thursday night. And then the next day we had a practice in the afternoon at the field house. And I forget what hotel we stayed in. It was right downtown, by the way. I think it was called the Hoosier Hotel or the Indiana Hoosier Hotel. But anyway, that's where we stayed. And a lot of coaches didn't want to stay. They didn't want to stay downtown. They would stay out away from the main drag. But I don't know. I just decided, or we did, that we'd stay downtown in a hotel. And that was a big excitement. Some of these kids hadn't been out of the county.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Now, happy belated birthday, by the way. I think you just turned 88.
88 and counting, Bill. Yes.
You know what the neat thing is about talking?
I can't imagine even being 88. I really can't. I'm blessed, by the way. I'm not on a walker yet. I'm not laid up in bed, and I get out and walk from time to time. And so I am blessed with the only things happening probably, I think my mind's fading a little bit, but, that's to be expected.
In a conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, which I love those conversations, by the way, you were talking about, you're 88 years old. Your memories of that time and your time in Indiana is fantastic. But you wanted to see if any of the coaches that you coached against were still around, and you said you came up with a couple coaches, right?
I think the list I had was quite extensive, by the way. I think I had a list of 20-some coaches that I looked up. And by the way, Bill, all of these coaches had been inducted in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. And I found out 2 of them were still alive. One would have been Charles Stanbo, who was really a great coach in Orleans, Indiana. You probably heard of Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe Jack Butcher, who is a legendary coach in Lagodi, Indiana, are still alive.
Great name too, Lagodi, Indiana. But it's just there just aren't names of towns like that in other states, in my opinion.
It's crazy, Lagodi, Indiana. Yeah.
And Jack Butcher and Butcher Ball and for years held the record for most high school victories, which
yes, he did.
I think J.R. Holmes just took over for him. I think a year and a half ago.
I played high school basketball against Jack Butcher. Lagodi's only a few miles from French Lick. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 miles. And he's a heck of a ball player, great ball player in high school. And I think he went on to Memphis State, I believe. Memphis, yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was offered a tryout or was drafted or could have played for the Boston Celtics if he would have wanted to.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know what year, but his team, and that was in what I call the golden era of single-class tournament basketball. He had his team, I think, to the final tournament or the final championship game, I believe.
Do you think that there would be too much crow to be eaten, or do you think that the possibility of it ever going back to single class will ever happen?
Well, quick answer, no. No, I don't believe it'll go back. It won't. It just won't.
And is it all because of that mentality of more different state champions, smaller school gets a chance? Because you guys were a small school. Milan was a small school.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of discussion about it, and I even think it's been brought toward, or maybe I've heard it's been brought to the Indiana legislature and never will pass. It never did pass, and I think it's basically more or less a decision at the local level, at the high school administration level, the principals basically of high schools. I doubt if they would vote to go back to the single class system. I just can't believe they would now.
Do you recall or do you remember, or were you having just so much fun as a young man coaching? Because you were 5 or 6 years older than some of your players because of how when you got your job there. But do you?
Yeah, I was 25 years old.
Were there places or gymnasiums that you really didn't like to play at, or were there coaches you didn't really like to play against? What was that like?
Well, French Lick, West Baden, their gyms were only about 1,000 seating capacity. And I don't think we played very many. Well, I don't think we played games that had less seating than that. In other words, most of the teams we played had better seating, more seating, larger seating capacity. So back then, they were almost every game was sellout, and I didn't like. As a coach, I didn't like to play against a team that had a zone defense, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't very good at trying to teach how to beat a zone defense. Anyway, a lot of schools back then did play a zone because the gyms were small and the courts were small. I know in French Lick and West Baden, the basketball courts were shorter in length than the standard gym was supposed to be, and a little shorter in width. So, and that was not uncommon, by the way. And of course now, why it's all different. It's 96 by 50, the court size.
How did Coach Wells? How do you get along, communicate, or what was that like with parents of players?
Well, I'd be remiss to say or tell you that I had some conflicts with parents. I'll have to say, not in '58. How could you have a conflict with parents when you're undefeated all that season? I didn't. No parent came to me and really upset that the kid didn't get to play and that type of thing. But later on, in my, I guess it was 6 years, I was a coach in Indiana. Let's see, 56 to 62, 6 years. Yes, I did have some conflict with parents who thought their kids should be playing. That was the issue. The kid wasn't getting to play, and Mama or Daddy was real upset about it. But I never failed to treat parents very civil. I mean, they would use some pretty rough language, raw language sometimes, but I'd like to meet with them separate and sit down and talk to them. A lot of times I would even visit them in their home and try to get some kind of resolution. And a lot of kids, not a lot, but several kids did decide that they would quit, of course. They just didn't want to keep on. And it was traumatic for both sides, the coach and the parents. And it probably carried over in their lives that the coach didn't play my kid, and I didn't like that.
Did you kind of
that was true in every coach, don't you believe?
I believe that, but I just kind of wanted did you kind of, you're like, oh, here comes so and so's parents, okay, or you're like, how do you approach that without being rude or without making it confrontational or without being later on in the season or whatever that it makes you cringe a little bit, how did you do that?
But Bill, I would not be rude to a parent.
Right.
That would just not be my nature. It wouldn't be. And many times a good conversation between dad and a coach or mom, they would see my side of the story, many times. They would. But you had to get some kind of a good conversation going and talk about what's best. And I always said, look, on and off the court, let's think about your kid, not just on the basketball court, but off the basketball court. Many times those kids, excuse me, that wasn't playing were pretty good students in school. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were good in the classroom. And I tried to capitalize on the fact, hey, look, your kid is a really good student. Let's focus on what he's doing. And a lot of times I would probably say, look, let's go down, let's keep going, and I'll get him. He'll be playing some basketball, okay? He'll probably not ever be a starter on this basketball team, but he will get to play. So, that's the way it always was. And the coaches that have been around a long, long time, man, I'm sure that they experience every kind of conflict that you could think of about playing time. That was the issue, almost always.
How did you accept other people's input or their 2 cents worth of what you should do or but most people probably say, how you doing today, coach, or go get them, or good luck at the game. Yeah. But there are those people who like to give their 2 cents. And how well did Coach Wells take the 2 cents of advice from other people?
Well, I took the advice, okay, but I didn't spend a lot of time on it, okay? I really didn't because, it just wasn't going to work. But the thing about it, I wasn't rude. I really wasn't rude, and I just wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. And I didn't spend much time at the coffee shop or at the barber shop with the Monday morning coaches.
Just
the trouble when you do, by the way.
Of course. The book by W. Timothy Wright is called The Valley Boys, the story of the 1958 Springs Valley Blackhawks, which is a fabulous book. You can get it on Tim's website. And I saw today where you can get it on at Walmart.com and, of course, Amazon. Of course, we're chatting with Coach Rex Wells from who coached that basketball team. We were talking again, and we made the comment. I started talking about Milan, and we came up with the story that Milan possibly wouldn't have won the state championship, and all this Hoosier stuff and all this galore of all this may have not happened because Marvin Wood may have stayed in the French Lick area.
That's very true. Marvin Wood in 1950 came to French Lick High School as a coach. And the story is that Marvin Wood was that was his first year. He was, I think, 25 years old too at the time. Came to French Lick, and the story is in Bob Plump's book that Marvin Wood really liked French Lick. He was there 2 years and liked the town. He liked the school, but there was a conflict. I think his second year, he wanted a little bit more money for his talent, and the school board didn't want to pay him any more money, and they couldn't come to some issues, and Marvin, I believe, resigned and left. And the story was and is that he got late in the season and ended up going to Milan, which really was his, according to the job kind of late. And, of course, you know the rest of that story then.
Did you go to the Final Four in '54 to watch the Final Four there in Indianapolis?
No, I didn't. I was Uncle Sam came calling that year, and I ended up, that was my last year at Hanover College, and I was drafted then in 1954. Ended up in Germany, by the way.
How much did you love the game of baseball?
Well, probably that was my sport, really. I love baseball. That was really my sport. It's just really, I don't know. It's easy to say. That was my sport. I played it in college, and I signed after my college time at Hanover College. I signed a minor league contract in 1954, in the summer 1954, to go to spring training in Florida, which would have been probably February of 1955. But in October, November, I was drafted in '54 and ended up at Fort Riley, Kansas, and then ended up being shipped to Germany for a year and a half there. And I played in the Army too, by the way, and that was a great experience. Played all over Germany with military bases, but my career kind of ended after I was discharged from the Army, and that's when I signed a contract to play or to coach at West Baden High School, which was my alma mater, by the way.
What was it like back then, or in Indiana high school basketball when you were coaching? Would you yourself go watch a team that you're going to go play the next week or the following week? Would someone else go and scout? Was there such a thing as called scouting, or how would you plan to play a team back when you coached?
Well, Bill, I never, and this is probably not what most coaches but I was so young, and I never scouted. I don't think I scouted a game in 1957-58. Now, maybe once in a while I might have asked my assistant principal or assistant coach to go watch a team, but not very often. I didn't do it. I just didn't go watch teams. Today, I would say probably coaches scout, they get film. I never watched a film, by the way, when I coached. I never did watch a film. Of course, back then, early in the 50s, or during that period, I don't know that very many games were filmed anyway. It just wasn't happening, you know. Today, coaches film practices, you know, and teach the game that way.
What did, during your coaching career in Indiana high school basketball, or other coaches you have watched have this happen, or did this happen to you, was there ever really any stress involved? Were you really stressed out, and then how would you kind of get rid of that stress?
Well, I think there was stress. I think my release was a workout all the time. I just loved to work out, you know, and I think probably a lot of coaches did at the time to relieve the stress. There wasn't health clubs back then. You either got out and ran or there was no weight rooms, you know, back then in the little schools. But a lot of times I used to play Sunday choose-up basketball with guys, and that was a great experience to do that. That seemed to be the best way for me to release stress. Of course, you're always trying to find things to do and all, but
were you always thinking about the game?
Yeah, I was, Bill. I thought about the game all the time. I really did. You know, the game of basketball is so much like life. You know, you don't play it every day. In other words, life. But I thought about it a lot, especially the night before the game. I would probably not get a lot of sleep the night before a game.
Did you enjoy, like, you know, you watch all the basketball movies, you know, these are the questions that I just, you know, just wonder about. The answers aren't probably spectacular, but just questions that I have about the game. You know, all these movies and all that, you see the coaches come out and you see them say hello or greet the opposing coach, and also too, you go over and shake hands at the end of the game for the same coach that you went and introduced yourself to at the beginning of the game. What was that like? Was that is that something that you don't remember doing a lot, or did you enjoy introducing yourself or chatting with a coach that you were coaching against? And what was it like to, you know, good game, sorry you lost, or what was that like?
Well, I really did. I enjoyed my coaching colleagues, and there was always at the beginning of the game, you go over and shake hands and all. There was always a friendly atmosphere, and then you had the game, and it was a competitive thing. And after the game, I tell you the truth, I don't remember. And there may have been one or two, I don't even know, but I can't remember after a ball game having lost the game or won the game, and that a coach would not shake hands or would not make a comment, etc. Never did I ever experience that. Even
All right, that's technology at its best. I apologize. I lost you there.
Was that me or you?
It could have been either one. Technology nowadays. You think it'd be? It's probably the best technology.
It might have been me.
The best technology is landline. I know people make fun of people who have landlines, but that's the best technology out there is.
Well, I'm on a landline because I got my accounting. Tax and accounting business, I have to have a landline.
Right. But you were talking about whether or not you kind of don't remember, probably because you either won the game or lost the game. On do you congratulate or do you shake hands with the opposing coach or do you chat with the coach?
Yeah. And you know what? The coaching guys that I competed against, hey, they were gentlemen. They were, for sure. And I knew them from college. I knew them from, back when. And I played against several of these guys in high school. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I just respected them, and I suspect they respected me too. I do.
We were discussing also on a phone call, this past Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame induction class was to include Jerry Reynolds, and of course because of the COVID-19 and everything that's going on, it's been kind of delayed. And you coached Jerry, I think, for 1 year, 2 years.
I did.
And
I coached Jerry Reynolds for 1 year, his senior year. Yeah.
And you have and you taught math in high school, correct?
I did. I was a math teacher.
Now, being a math teacher, I'm going to get back to Jerry Reynolds here for a second, but a lot of coaches go down that physical education route or that history route. Did you have a love for math at a young age, and why did you choose math?
Well, when I went to college, and I might have told you this story. I'll tell it quick. I wanted to be a civil engineer, Bill, when I was in high school. I built model airplanes and stuff, and I was really tied into that analytical part of my brain, I guess you'd say. Anyway, I went to Hanover College, and of course my high school was less than 100, and we didn't have labs. We didn't have any of the extra stuff in school like most bigger schools. And so I went to Hanover thinking I'd start with pre-engineering. I went to the pre-engineering tables to get my courses. And the guy, the professor, he said, well, Wells, did you have chemistry in high school? I said, no, we were a real small school, didn't have chemistry. Well, what about this? How about physics? Did you have physics? I said, well, no, I don't even think I can spell physics. Well, anyway, long story short, the guy says, young man, do you see, he never did say my name or ask for my name, but anyway, young man, do you see the guy sitting over here at the other table? Yeah. Well, why don't you go talk to him? I said, oh, okay, I'll do that. So I did, and it happened to be the football coach at Hanover College and the athletic director. So I walk over to his table, Bill. He jumps up and he comes around and he says, hello there, what is your name? And I said, well, my name's Rex Wells. He said, well, hello, Rex. I am Dutch Struck, the football coach at Hanover College. I'm the athletic director. I'm head of the physical education department. That's physical ed, not phys ed. I see you come from the engineer table over there. Yeah, I said, I kind of wanted to be an engineer. Well, he said, Rex, I'll tell you, if you sign up here for the courses, you can be an engineer of people. And I never will forget that as long as I live. He says, you can be an engineer of people. Well, long story short, I signed up for the courses in physical education and had mathematics also as a minor. I played 2 years of football for Coach Struck. I worked in his office for a couple years as his secretary and gopher. That's how I became a teacher and a coach. That story.
And let's take that back to teaching math class and Jerry Reynolds in your class. And you told me a great story about, you thought possibly he was over there doing some kind of a fabulous math formula, and he comes up to you after class and shows you something.
I taught an analytic geometry, or maybe it was trigonometry class, and Jerry was in the class, and he did from time to time. He would come up to my desk. I gave students at the end of the class 10 minutes to do assignments and all, and Jerry would come up and say, "Hey," or I would say, "Oh, Jerry, you have a problem with the assignment?" Or, "Well, yeah, but here's what I'd like to show you. I've been doing some stuff." And so he'd lay the paper down, and he had it X and O's and drawn out, and he had this vowel circle and all, and the chord all drawn out on a piece of paper. And he said, "Well, can I show you this?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, I've drawn up a play, and I'm going to show you a basketball play. The X's and O's, and the ball's here, it goes down the side and then comes back over the side. And then right here, and this is Jerry talking, right here at the top of the key is the X, and this is where the shot is." And I said, "Oh, really?" "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." And I said, well, who is this at the top of the key shooting the ball? Who is that?" And he said, "Well, that's me, Coach." Now, that is a true story, and really, it's so typical of Jerry Reynolds.
What was it like? Is it nice as a coach to see some of your former players get the accolades that they get in there? And how does that make a coach feel?
Well, you just feel great. It's very exhilarating, and it's just a feeling. It's just a great feeling, Bill. I just can't even explain it, really. It's a bond. I tell you what it is. It's a strong bond of friendship and camaraderie that lasts your whole life. That's what it is. Short and sweet. That's what it is. In being in touch later on, like 60 years later for me, and I am in touch with players. I am. In fact, the matter is, I just recently had a talk with Jerry because Jerry's sister, who was in my math classes at Spring Valley High School, recently had just passed away with COVID-19.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And I've visited with Jerry on it, and it was really sad experience for the family. It really was.
What's interesting about memories and high school basketball. I wasn't a very good basketball player, but I kind of took everything in. I was like a sponge with basketball. So I took stuff in that the players who were working hard and playing good basketball didn't catch on because I wasn't out on the court or I wasn't practicing. And there'll be a song that'll come on the radio, or there'll be a picture of something, and it will take me instantly back to a game that we lost, back to a game that we won, back to something that just brings a smile to my face. What like on a daily basis, do you think about 1958 and what could have been or what did transpire? And is it a daily thing, or every 1, 2, 3 days does it come to your mind and bring a smile to your face?
It does. It does. And I don't know. There's an old saying. I always say this in a letter or something that I'm writing to a former player. I said, I'm 88 years old, and I know for sure now, Bill, that I'm a sentimental old coot that loves to reminisce about yesteryear, especially the game of basketball. That's me. And I think about the 1958. tell you the truth, we thought we would win that tournament, by the way. We thought for sure that no one could beat us. Hey, we were 25-0. We were 25-0, and we didn't think anybody would beat us, even though South had the greater team and the favorite and the height advantage by at least 10 inches. But we thought we would win. We thought we would be 27-0, first team, young team, new team that never, ever, ever lost a game. And even today, if I'm talking to one of the players, we still reminisce quite a bit about the team. And I do think about it. Now, do I think about other teams? Yeah. Bill, I had a team in Greensburg that won 7 stinking ball games and lost, 17, I think it was. And I think about that team too. And I've been in touch with some of those guys time to time. And so it's not just winning. You also think about the kid. There's more to basketball than just the game itself, Like I said, there's a bond of friendship and camaraderie with coaches of past seasons and players that is just powerful. It's a very powerful emotion. And I'm sure many coaches do the same thing that I've done. It's still in my blood, by the way.
Now, speaking of that, and I know because of the circumstances of what's going on with the pandemic, but, before the pandemic started, do you still find yourself like stopping on a college basketball game or watching a professional basketball game, or is that something that's just not, you got other things that you do?
You know what? I love college basketball. I do love watch college basketball. I do. And I don't watch pro so much anymore. I used to, but not so much anymore. But I love to watch college basketball games. Just really a good entertainment for me.
Once getting to Colorado, did you have opportunities to coach, but you decided just to stay in the administrative portion of it?
Well, yeah, you don't coach after being an administrator. Rarely do you coach unless you're really a small school. When I came to Colorado, the school that I was assistant principal and athletic director of a school about 1,500 kids. So, that's what my job was. And then I became principal of a high school, which was new high school built. But that, that's your job now. And by the way, my last year was 1962, and I didn't think I thought I would be a coach in Springs Valley for several years. And I was given the principal job in 1962 at Springs Valley High School. And that was my last year of coaching, 61, 62. And just think of this. I gave up the idea or the possibility of coaching the legend Larry Bird. How about that?
Ooh, expound.
Pardon me?
Continue on that, okay? Because you would have continued to stay at Springs Valley. You mean?
If I had not taken the principal's job, which that's another story. I didn't know if I even wanted to be a principal, but the superintendent kind of twisted my arm, and I gave in, I guess. But I would have probably stayed at French Lick, and I would have had Larry Bird as a player.
But your brain just explodes thinking about that, doesn't it?
Well, it kind of does if you know what I mean. Now that was 62. Larry graduated from Spring Valley High School in 1974.
Right.
Now, I don't know that I would have been at 62. That would have been 12 more years of coaching high school. I don't know if I would have stayed at 12. Yeah, I might have. I don't know. But, well, Larry was a senior, in 74, so he was a freshman at 70. I could have been 8 years coaching, 8 more years.
Very interesting.
But I didn't. I took the principal's job, and, well, the rest of the story. That's where I spent 32 years as a school administrator, had a heart attack, changed jobs, became a public accountant, and I've closed my office this year after 32 years as a public accountant. So I've had two careers, really.
I told one of my math teachers all I need to know is how many cans of soup I can get for $1, and I was sent to the principal's office. I was horrid at math, horrid. I
really?
don't know why. I mean, I love history and everything else, but I would concentrate on some of the subjects I was really good at more to make myself even better. But math, I was just horrid. I don't know why.
Well, I love numbers. You love history, and that's the difference. I love numbers in high school and college. I hated to read in high school. I hated to read. Bill, now I read about a book every week.
Right.
I never read a book in college. I never did. I never read a book in high school. Today, kids do book reports and all that. I never had any of that. Never. But somehow, now I can't get enough to read. I love to read. I should have been doing that 60 years ago.
I remember one time in math class, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And one time in math class, the teacher comes walking around, and I've got all these numbers written down on this piece of paper. And the teacher, at the look of his face, was kind of like he was kind of impressed. And he said, "What are these?" And I said, "Well, this is a 17-year career in Major League Baseball. This is how many hits I have each year. This is how many doubles I'm going to have, triples, home runs, stolen bases. And then I have my totals down on the bottom, and it looks like I'm going to be." And the teacher looks at the piece of paper and goes, "Well, it looks like you're about 21 home runs short of Babe Ruth's record."
Oh boy!
Yeah. What was basketball like in Colorado compared to what it is in Indiana, or was or is in
basketball
Indiana?
had 5 levels. I believe it was 5 levels of basketball: A, AA, AAA, 4A, 5A. I think it was 5 levels, and it depended on enrollment. And by the way, I think Indiana has the same, maybe 4 levels now. I did some reading recently. I think it was 1996. I believe that's right, or 69 or 96, that Indiana went to class basketball. Do you know if that's right or not?
In what year?
I think it was 1996. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 96, I think, was the last single class champion. Then I think they went to 4 different classes.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty typical across the United States, don't you imagine? I don't think any state would have single-class basketball or single-class football now. I don't think so.
No, and I think you're correct. But what stories and what history and what memories come about those states that held that for so long?
Well, you know what? It was the era of a golden era of single-class tournament basketball. That's what it was.
How did you during that magical run in '58? Of course, the media is totally different today. But what was it like for a newspaper guy to ask you questions? Did they ask you smart questions, dumb questions? Did you enjoy kind of dealing with the media, or did you mess with them?
I really did enjoy dealing with the media. I did. And, I had calls all the time, especially in 1957, 58. And then even 58 and 59, we had a team that had, we won 18 ball games that year and had Marvin Wood. I know that he was an all-state basketball player as a senior. He made the all-state team, and he was inducted recently, 2015, he was inducted in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. And he became second person in Spring Valley High School to be inducted there. And, of course, Jerry Reynolds is going to be the third person to be inducted in the Indiana Hall of Fame.
So what does Coach Wells do today? Do you? I know you just said you read a lot of books, a book a week. What else do you keep yourself occupied with?
Well, of course, during this COVID pandemic, I've been at home. I don't get out. Well, I say I don't get out much. I do get out every afternoon, rain, shine, snow, sleet, I don't care what. And I have a little Boston Terrier dog that he's just terrific, and I get him out, and we go to a little trail here in Fort Collins and walk about 45 minutes or so. I look forward to that experience every day. And if I don't get to do it, I get real upset. Now, can you imagine that? But I get out and do that, and I'm still able to do that. I don't have to have a walker. I don't have to have a cane. And we just take a walk and enjoy the scenery. And if it's 30 degrees or whatever, if it's 95, I was out recently and it was 100 degrees, and we still did it. We still did the walk. And he's a therapeutic dog, I call him,
Do you agree? Do you agree that sports today, high school sports today, or society in a whole, there's just too many choices, and that's why there's not one specific thing that just stands out all the time?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. The school I was principal at here in Fort Collins, they had in the years past, they have won 5A baseball championships in the state of Colorado. The name of the school is Rocky Mountain High School. And their baseball program has been terrific. I mean, absolutely. Five state championships, 5A. And they've had, 4 or 5 kids that made major league tryouts. One kid now is a starting pitcher for Mariners. But what I'm getting at, Bill, the program now, they take the kids in the summer and go to California. They go to Florida to play baseball tournament. And I think, and my gut is, man, that's a little bit over. Now, they were talking high school here. We're not talking college or whatever. We're talking high school. And that's true with basketball. That's true with volleyball. That's true with you name it. And I believe it's over the top. I really do.
Well, Coach Rex Wells, another hour in the books. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
Oh my God! Is it an hour? I didn't even look at the clock. Yeah, it goes fast.
It goes by fast. This is our 4th hour. We can put this in and make this an audio book.
Bill, I want to really compliment you and your program. I know you call it Keeping the Nostalgia Alive, an Indiana sports program. Is that right? Have I said that right?
Well, now, most of the time, because I do involve something from basketball from the state of Indiana. It's Welcome to Keeping Nostalgia Alive, the Indiana Basketball Memory Shows. And then sometimes when I'm doing someone who played basketball that wasn't from Indiana, it's the Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to compliment you on keeping that going. I hope you keep that going for a long, long time. I really do.
Well, you're episode number 208 today, so it's been really fun to do. I love it.
Are you looking down the road at anything else in your life and career? I don't remember. You told me how old you were. 60? Is that right?
No, I'll be 53 in November.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh wow. Oh wow.
But I'm an old soul. If that, a lot of people tell me I have an old soul. But,
well, I've got that problem of inescapable consequences of old age, I guess they call it. And for me to be, for you to ask me to be on your program is quite an honor. I guess you know that.
Oh, no, and I love hearing I love hearing what it was about, what it was like, what because you sometimes you really can't get that from a book. You need to hear it, someone say it, and it's just
Yeah.
and unfortunately, you know how history is. Unfortunately, some of this stuff, and I love getting people. We lost. I don't know if you remember. I think he played at Odin, Indiana. His name was Larry, and his nickname was Buddy. Larry Buddy Graham.
Yes.
And he.
I know Odin, Indiana. I do know it. Yeah.
And he passed away the other day. But I had the opportunity.
Oh, really?
I've had the opportunity to interview him, and now his voice is still out there. His stories are still out there, and that's what I love doing.
Bill, I by the way, I listen to a lot of your interviews I have, and I want you to know I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
I really enjoy listening to your interviews, and I've listened to a lot of them.